Hello, friends. Welcome once again to the Perfect Bound Podcast. This is a podcast all about anything and everything comic books and comics related, brought to you by the Panel Jumper and Comics Dungeon. My name is Ben. With me, as always, is Cole Hornaday.
Hello.
Chris Casso.
What?
Nicole Lamb.
Hi.
All right. Hashtag what? We got
Hello.
a hashtag for each show.
Getting over the flu. Sorry, kids.
Thank you for pointing
Pop it right into you.
Yep, he's
pointing away.
No, I covered my mouth with my hands. I covered my face.
You also licked a book earlier, so...
just doing his part.
All right. So, we're here at the lovely Comics Dungeon, which suffered a bit of an act of vandalism a couple weeks ago. Somebody tried to break in and broke the front door glass.
Yeah, they
right?
threw a rock through it and
Threw a rock
smashed it good.
Now, there was
Did they actually enter the store?
Did they actually take a step
there's
in?
a video that I didn't see.
No,
that was sent
I
to us
saw
or something.
the action, but the video cuts at a certain point.
Oh,
so,
okay.
but you know, alarm
Bad
goes
editing.
off.
No, I think he.
editing.
Yeah, I think he.
But
Just,
essentially, this is a mentally challenged person who lives in Wallingford.
The guy we saw him the next night walk by the store, and he was just
Shouting things.
666. So it's just like he's not in a good place right now.
Not a
so-
thief, but someone who's in trouble.
or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
feeling large bouts of aggression
and likes rocks.
and yeah,
Likes rocks.
something like that.
yeah.
All right.
So, yeah.
So I was gonna say don't be a jerk and do that, but now I kind of feel bad for the guy. Anyway, don't be a jerk and break windows.
Yeah, please.
Still,
not
just
ours.
don't. You know, you have problems. Don't take it out on windows. That's all.
Exactly. All right, so let's talk about one thing that I really think is interesting is that when we've talked about fan fiction before, and we've talked about it in relation to, say, the Star Trek the Star Trek universe, because there's a lot of fan fiction out there for Star Trek, and Paramount actually had to define what Star Trek is so they could go after these fan universes and take them down. So I started thinking about fan fiction in terms of properties from comic books, and I want to know what are some fan made stories out there that are worth reading or watching if they're online somewhere.
Chris
have
is
a
going to take the
list.
cue.
Chris has a list.
Yes. So there's a few creators online that I really love, and one of them is a fellow named Yale Stewart, who does a series called JL8. JL and the number 8. And it's all about the different Justice League members if they were all 8 years old and they were all best friends in school. And they're wearing their costumes. They get a little Superman and a little Batman. And it's fantastically drawn. It's very charming. It's very funny. Wonder Woman has a crush on Batman has a crush on Wonder Woman. Superman has a crush on Wonder Woman. Power Girl has a crush on Batman. There's like a bunch of these like different fun things. Martian Manhunter's like really cute and really timid, and like the Boy Scout troop leader is Alan Scott, the Golden Age Green Lantern. You know, things like that. And then in that same vein, there's another webcomic called Welcome to Wayne Manor, which is basically what if Batman was the dad to all the Robins, and all the Robins were like really young, and so like Dick Grayson's like really only like maybe 10, and like Jason Todd is 7, and Tim Drake is 5, and then like Terry Batman Beyond is like a little baby, and Uncle Alfred is there, and they've got the dogs, and I can never find the person's actual name. They're just known as the Black Cat, like the creator of this webcomic. Another one that's fantastic to check out is that Mike Mayhack, who does Cleopatra in Space, does a lot of really good one-page Batgirl, Supergirl gag strips, and they're adorable. Like there's a Christmas one where Batgirl's like going to start fighting Killer Croc, and then Supergirl shows up and she's like, cookie time, cookie exchange, and like she gives a can of cookies to Killer Croc, and Killer Croc's like, oh, here's mine. That he was prepared, and Batgirl's just like, what is this? and Killer Croc's like, you can't have my cookies. So those are a couple that I always like to try and aim people towards. As far as just like not a series, but we mentioned it in a different episode at one point, there's a lot of Captain America, Iron Man fan fiction.
Bucky.
With Bucky, you know, but there's also
some
like
Bucky
added
series.
elements, like they're trying to get custody of like Spider-Man, like who's going to be like the adopted
You're
father
just
of
talking
Spider-Man.
about our fan fiction
That
now?
too, yeah, that too.
Is this illustrated?
We've
Is this
made-
all narrative.
I'm sure you could find illustrations. The
Okay,
question is,
all right.
do you want to?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of LGBT fan fiction. Like the moment a big production drops, somebody's gay and having a triad or something. You
Right.
know, like the
Like you do.
Poe Dameron and Rey and Finn were all in a triad right after Force Awakens.
Yeah,
so
a
you know,
throuple.
yeah, they were a throuple. Yeah, they were a throuple. Yeah.
so yeah, it's
Well, there's also Brittany Williams, who's on the Patsy Walker Hellcat series right now. She was doing little snippets of the Daily Planet.
Yes, those are
well, it wasn't
adorable.
necessarily a straight up web comic. She was just putting out these little illustrations, and she did some really great things.
she did enough of them that you could form a story in the
You got
world of your
yeah,
own,
a
and
bit
it's
of
like
a narrative.
this
It was
really
very charming,
adorable. Yeah,
very adorable. Yeah, I think there's one where they're having like a slumber party, pizza party, or something like
Yeah,
that.
with like
too.
Perry White's there,
Yeah.
and all the other like
Very cute.
characters that you see in the background of the Daily Planet.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's just like, DC, why don't you hire her for this? It would
just
be a
money
great
being offered to you,
all-age
you know.
Superman, Lois Lane story.
Yeah.
Clark Kent is so cute. He's kind of nerdy.
He's super
but he's,
dorky.
like, big guy. Yeah, and he's got the glasses. Like it just nails it with the dorkiness
It's kind of
Clark
like
Kent.
Frank Quietly in All Star Superman always made that kind of big dorkish looking Clark Kent, you know, and it's that lost art of being able to show you that. Because people like to be like, that's a stupid disguise. He's just got glasses. It's just like, no, Christopher Reeve got it. Like, there's a different posture to the Superman.
Yeah.
You know, there's the big corn-fed oaf who's a clumsy guy, and then when he becomes Superman, he's just like, hello.
He has
Yeah.
voice and he has grace.
Yeah, you
Clark
know.
Kent does not.
Yeah.
And it really distinguishes that really well.
So
in her
Brittany
stuff.
Williams really
Brittany
has
Williams,
that.
Great.
Yeah.
Just a brief aside, I read a story on IMDb when the guy who directed Batman Returns, not Brett Ratner, but Bryan Singer. When Bryan Singer was meeting with Brandon Routh, who played
Superman
Superman
Returns.
in Superman Returns, yeah. And they had a meeting in a coffee shop, and when Brandon was coming back to the table, he spilled his coffee all over the table, and he was like, "Oh my god, I'm not going to get this part because I just spilled coffee all over Bryan Singer." And Bryan Singer comes back, "No, that's when you got the part." Because you told me you could play Clark Kent.
Oh, there's another thing. Calvin and Hobbes guy.
Bill Watterson.
Yeah. There's somebody out there who's doing like Star Wars themed stuff. Is that?
Where it's Kylo Ren.
Yeah, there's all these
yeah.
different little bits, and it's
Totally
in.
aping his style.
And
in a
the
really
dad-
But I
amazing
think
way.
he actually like talked to Watterson or something, right? And like said,
It's interesting. Watterson's very protective of Calvin and Hobbes.
but it was something where they were like, "No, that's okay," or
I would
something like
be-
that.
So yeah, I would be
I
surprised
thought.
if he got like a complete sign off. I think as long as he's not making money off of that,
Yeah,
he's okay.
Yeah,
They can
but
leave him
they're
online.
they're very sweet and very cute. It's
Yeah.
got the charm and the wit of the Calvin and Hobbes
Yeah.
with bringing in the Star Wars universe. Very cute.
Those are great. Those previous things you brought up, how can people find those? Are those online?
In the interwebs.
On the internet.
With the Google search, which I am not.
The Google.
A Google search.
You are not the Google search.
I am not the Google. Yeah, just do JL and the number 8. Welcome to Wayne Manor, and just look up Mike Mayhack, Maihack, and if you're on Tumblr, very carefully put in Captain America or Iron Man.
Tumblr can be a very scary,
yes,
frightening place.
Yeah, maybe put on your search filter on
Yeah,
Google or
something
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're doing like the fan fiction when it comes to
Yes.
the boys.
So did I hear that you guys are doing a fan fiction? Is
So-
this just a store
No,
employee
no.
thing?
So this is what happens. We talk on Facebook Messenger a lot of times when we're not at work because we just can't stop. We can't quit each other. So, so one. It's okay. We're just besties. That's fine. We're all besties here. It's fine. Anyway, so we just went into a fan fiction going through all the different Avengers and like if they were all at a party, like
If it was a wedding, this is
If it-
because this would be a civil. What was the joke?
it's been
A
so
civil
long.
union instead of a civil war or
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
So it was like
what
a-
if everybody got drunk, and then what music would they be karaokeing?
Oh, that's right. So we were
Yeah.
on YouTube endlessly, like sending little things.
Yeah,
like,
we were
and
going
then,
insane at
And then
this
Hank
point.
Pym would
Yeah.
show up, and things would get messy, and then this would happen,
yeah.
or you know,
You get a few
something
in
like
him,
that,
and
then-
it's like, uh-oh.
and then it'd be like, ooh, unhinged,
Yeah.
yeah, and then yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so it started there, and then it became Steve's love for Iron Man, but like, you know, Tony Stark's got he can't like fully commit emotionally, you know, and Steve's just like, why can't you love me like I need you to love me, you know? And then it's like Bucky comes in, it just makes it all messy again, you know, and then like Spider-Man somehow is in there, and they're in a custody battle, like they were. in a gay union, something, and then I don't know. It went from there. It was 2 a.m. Just God help us. So
it turned into just looking for a lot of really weird music and be like, what would Hercules and Thor do a duet on?
Right. Yeah. And well, then in store we started expanding on it, and
because a customer a customer overheard us, and then she just went over and she's like,
what is this fan fiction?
Do you have this written down somewhere?
Yes,
Give it to me
she's
now.
like, you need to write it down. Yeah.
So, and I'm throwing this question at you. You feel free to not know the answer, but have there been any writers who have written fan fiction and they've been picked up by the actual property?
Put my lozenge down. A young woman named, well, she's not young anymore, but her name was Devin Grayson, and that was her pen name. And back in the 90s, she wrote some really incredible Batman Robin porn that was quite well written.
We've talked about this on the podcast.
And I bring her up every once in a while because she's gone off the grid. They hired her to write, I think, Nightwing for a while. And she was writing a couple of books in the Batman family.
It sounds pretty great, actually.
Yeah,
they should bring her back.
and I thought that was one of the wisest things that DC had ever done, was to hire this woman, because I really did feel like that she injected some, pardon the pun, some new wit and wisdom into the character. She brought some new insights as a woman, and this other take on it. And she's the first person I can think of. Diane Duane wrote a lot of Star Trek fan fiction, and then she became a Star Trek novelist back in the 90s, and I think she actually wrote scripts for Next Generation.
She's one of the original writers for Star Trek.
Voyager?
No, for Star Trek, the original series was a gal who just cold submitted a script, and they brought her on. And they didn't use her. I wish I could remember her name, but they used her first initials instead of her name because they didn't want people to think a lady
Are you talking
wrote.
the original series?
The original series.
DC Fontana.
DC Fontana. Yeah.
Was one of the Batman stories called The Bat, the Cat, and Hey, What's That?
I believe so, possibly.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, because we made jokes like that before.
No, the one that Devin Grayson wrote, I think it's called Robin's Night Out, and it's this whole tortured romance between Bruce and Dick.
Well, I have to say that
Bruce and Richard.
Dick Grayson, who is Nightwing, he has a lot of fan fiction online, and a lot of times, if you've heard of the Hawkeye initiative, it's where they took the Marvel characters, the male characters, and over-sexualize them in the same way they do the female characters, where so you see the T and the A.
But they would take poses from like Lady Death comics and just have Hawkeye be the one doing it.
Twist the spine, or it'd be like empowerment, and he'd be all,
right.
Or like when Starfire was doing that, it was like him serving a drink to Hulk, in a tiny bikini. Dick Grayson also gets a lot of that.
I'm sure he does.
And I actually feel like that should be a thing because there's such a following, and I think there's a queer following there that they would really
Do you think DC though would ever do something like that officially?
I don't care. I just want them to. I just want them to be like, okay, Nicole, shut up. Here you go.
All right, so cool. So if you're into writing fan fiction, put it out there, man. Who knows who's going to read it?
I think that putting your stuff out on the web in general is a good idea.
Yeah,
I mean that's like your portfolio.
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
think that people are looking and seeing what's out there. I think Brittany Williams came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said before, you should not be ashamed of your geekiness.
Yeah.
And I point to you, Cole Horn, today. All right, do we have any last things to say about fan fiction? Yes, no, going once, going twice, moving on.
Okay.
Boom. All right. So this is a segment that we do sometimes called Rapid Fire for All, and it's a question and answer segment where I ask our panelists questions and they give me the answers. Now, this is for all, so they got the questions beforehand. I'm not going to surprise them with it. And the first question, apparently I asked this before, and it's if you could make any change to a superhero costume, what would it be? Nicole told me that we've done that. I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I'm sure we have. And if you know which episode we did that question, please email us at perfectbombpodcast@gmail.com.
Please, seriously, just email us. Okay.
What would I do? I would. I don't know what I would do because I don't know all the comics. But if you could, okay, here's a question to replace it.
Yeah.
Do you have a?
I have a counter.
Okay, what's
offer.
the counter?
It would be to stop people from changing certain things, and that would be stop changing Wonder Woman's costume every 2 seconds, and stop trying to make Power Girl like not have her boob window because it's stupid. The Amanda Conner wrote some good stuff about her having the boob window and being a sexual person and stuff like that, and she used it to her advantage, and I think that that's fine. So just leave it alone.
I heard a story, it's probably apocryphal, about the guy who draws Power Girl, and he admits that he was making her breast larger and larger until he was actually told to stop.
Just to see like where the limit would be, if people were noticing.
You need to stop now.
It's too much, man.
Exactly, it's too much.
Which is that's fine. It's just like somebody be like, is it just me, or is Power Girl looking a little different these days?
There's some editor with like a mini roller and being like a little monocle, like.
And it's just like, this one is this many centimeters.
So here's a question: if you could erase any story arc from canon. Just like it never existed.
Only one? Oh,
yeah, you got that. That's the challenge. You have to just pick one.
Well, but the thing is that over time, the more idiotic ones sort of go away. Like, I grew up reading the X-Men, and at one point, Storm was merged with the consciousness of a space whale, and then she was half vampire after she got bit by Dracula, the real Dracula. There's all these kinds of that's all kind of been forgotten about.
Not that fake Dracula, but the real Dracula.
Yeah,
fake
real
Draculas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm happy to hear there are space whales in X-Men.
Fakeulous.
Yeah.
Space whales are everywhere, man.
Yeah. That's like one of those horrible butterfly effect chains. Because just like if I go back too far and step on like a rock, then Hitler is suddenly like on space or something. It's just like
it's like Jason X all over.
Because my immediate thing is just like New 52, but it's just like wait, but perhaps we can go further. Perhaps we could go deeper. And it's just like how deep is too deep, And there's like some stories that are like, well, that was still a good story, but it created a chain effect that made bad stories.
So see, as
you might actually have to find like a really good story and kill the good story for the benefit of mankind.
Wow, that's the ultimate sacrifice
for the greater good.
Yeah, I mean, just right off the top of my head, I'd say like the last couple story arcs in the Batwoman series, because it just like give the writer and the artists their life back for that.
Yeah,
it wasn't needed.
All right. So here's one, and this is one a question I think you're excited to answer, Nicole. Who you got in a showdown, in a battle? He-Man versus Hulk.
I think Hulk would win.
You think Hulk would win?
Yeah, I mean, in a way that like Hulk gets more and more powerful the more angry he gets and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick fight for me.
Yeah,
That's
I feel
always
like
the fallback is that his powers can be based on, and he's a creature of rage.
Yeah. He can be endlessly powerful, I think, at a certain
there's
point.
Flips to that, though. Whenever there's a Superman Hulk, it's just like, and then he throws Hulk into space. Game over.
Yeah, right.
Hulk can live in space. That has been demonstrated time and time again.
He takes a good deep breath. But
So
I don't think he could breathe in space.
Eventually, he would die.
What about He-Man's sword, though?
Or maybe eventually he wouldn't be angry and he would turn back to
would
Bruce
save
and
him?
then die.
I don't know if the I mean,
Yeah.
but like blunt force trauma to Hulk, perhaps. Is Hulk impervious to stab
No, because he
wounds?
just gets like.
no, he heals. He has a healing thing.
Yeah.
He got stabbed by like a giant's exposed pipe one time, and he was just madder for a while.
So I mean, He-Man, he's strong.
Yeah.
And he's got a good sword. I don't remember He-Man really having like any sort of exceptional powers, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't remember him.
He's just
doing
like
much.
a Conan, right?
Yeah. He's
So-
like one of them there Conans.
He's one of them there, right? So I mean, unless he's got some magical something.
He's a tamed
hooty-doos.
barbarian.
Yeah.
All right, so
'Cause
Hulk
I feel like
wins.
maybe up against like Hordak or Skeletor, who might have, they're these strange beings, might have other elements.
Hulk's got better friends.
Yeah.
He-Man's got man-at-arms and Manny faces and Manny Man and
Orko.
Battle Cat.
And of course,
But you're right.
We're always
Battle
forgetting
Cat.
Battle
forget
Cat.
Battle
Battle
Cat.
Cat's
That's
great.
right.
Never
Yeah.
forget Battle Cat.
Never forget.
All right, and in television, sometimes characters just disappear. One of these questions, a famous example is Chuck Cunningham on Happy Days, who walked upstairs to do
Chuck.
God knows what and never came
Homework.
back down,
Yeah.
and nobody acknowledged. Nobody ever said like, "Where's Chuck?" On Bewitched, this isn't a character disappearing, but an actor disappearing, being replaced by a different
Right.
one. They
Dick Sargent or Dick York.
Apparently Dick York had some sort of illness, so they replaced him with Dick Sargent. Didn't acknowledge it, and of course, Dick York lived to be a ripe old man. Although he was ill, he couldn't work anymore.
Actual thing.
No, I
he
think
got
I think
ill?
I think he got sick. He had some sort of debilitating disease, and he just couldn't work anymore. So what characters in comics just disappeared and don't come back for no reason?
See, this is an interesting one for me just because the nature of comics, the nature of long-term characters that have different stewardships. You get different writers, and I mean, there's mainstays like Perry White will always be in the Superman comic or something, Lex Luthor. But then everybody has their own twists and turns, and they want to add characters, and maybe they'll get lucky, and that one character will be the $1 million, like, hey, I just made a Deathstroke, and now I got a popular character, and I get like some extra check money every once in a while. But yeah, sometimes the next writer comes along and they're just like, yeah, I don't care about any of that. You never see people again. So there's fast turnover rate. And I always think of Joe Kelly wrote a good long run of Superman comics. I can't remember if he was on Action or Adventure or Superman. And he created an interesting like new cast of villains. He created like a weird robot hybrid wearing khaki pants named Ignition. He created a woman named Encantadora who kind of had some magic powers, who was kind of like the Catwoman to Superman for a while. There was another woman called like Scorch who was kind of like a fire bear, and some of these were kind of basic, but he added interesting characteristics to them. And they're all gone now. Nobody cares. Greg Rucka had a Superman villain named Ruin, and that was like a big story arc for like a year or two. Who is Ruin? And now no one said about Ruin? What? And then another big one for me was Dan Slott wrote a Arkham Asylum comic where they created this really interesting character who was a financial embezzler who, like through triangles, pyramid schemes, took away like millions of dollars from like poor old ladies and stuff like that. And when he went to court, he was just like insanity plea, and then the judge was just like Arkham Asylum, asshole. And so he went to Arkham and was like horribly tortured and defaced, and he got turned in like his nose got eaten by Killer Croc, and somebody threw like bleach on him or something, I don't know, and basically he started to look like a white shark, and so he became the Great White Shark. And somebody at DC loved that idea, and they kept on like playing around with the idea that like, this guy's here, but no one told the stories about that guy. So somebody was created.
You were mentioning before, like he's mentioned in the games.
He's in the
too,
video games,
but,
like because
not really
you find
utilized.
like recording files in like Arkham Asylum, and then you get like some cool production art, and then like you get a recording of the psychiatrist talking about somebody, and so there's like pictures of villains that never show up in the games, and they include Great White Shark, and it's just like he's a footnote at best. He was an interesting character, but no one ever sees him. So
it's mysterious reappearances as opposed to disappearances.
Well, and there's always the question of who's marketable,
right?
What do we not have? What looks cool?
Do you remember there was Jeff Parker doing a series? No, I can't even remember. She's a girl. She's like 01 something, and she's like stripy or something.
Was that like in the Red Hulk stuff?
Yeah,
yeah.
Who was that character? Do you remember?
I can't remember, but yeah, she was a scientist.
She just
and MODOK fell in love with her.
Yeah, and like once Jeff Parker was done with that, it was like she was just gone.
There was like an assassin character that they created as well. Some like zombie robot guy. No, the guy kind of had like a sand-dusty disappear into mist that was nanotechnology or something going on for him. And because he was like half machine, the robot woman 0100 whatever took control of him. But so like these are characters that are like
cool characters, but then like so they don't necessarily disappear in a series. They're like there for the series, and then nobody talks to them ever again or something like that.
And maybe 5 years from now, somebody's like, we need somebody to die. Who do we own a copyright?
Yeah, and because if you look at the Marvel Deaths Handbook or whatever, there's all these like little minuscule characters that have just been killed off. And there's
a Captain America story where they needed to get across the idea of this villain called Scourge who would go around murdering villains and be like justice is served or something. And so we went into a bar full of like drunk supervillains, and there's just like this who's list of losers who have been in comics for like decades, and they're just like, well, we need a body count, so get me a list of people we own, and so we can just shoot them in the head.
I feel it's like like all the non-successful villains are like listed in the phone book or something because like nobody cares, so it's just guy and is like, I found you. Where? How did you find me? Oh,
you're in the yellow pages.
Yeah, you're in the yellow pages. Yeah.
I wrote this question down when you guys were talking because you mentioned something like if a character isn't popular or something like that, then that maybe they'll go away. How do publishers actually gauge how popular a character is?
I think maybe
Extra
sales.
sales.
Yeah, like
Well,
if
I
they're
think it
showing
also
up
used
in
to
that
when
series.
they had letters pages.
Yeah.
There was like they get a lot
yeah.
of immediate feedback
Yeah.
on what characters were successful and what readers wanted to see more of.
They still have letters pages.
Well, but they came back after a while. I mean,
Yeah.
they had totally eliminated them for a very long time as being a waste of space, and they invited readers and fans to discuss it like on the publisher's website. And I don't think that was very successful
because the publishers' websites are awful.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we're back to having that sort of a print, and of course, a lot of times it's an opportunity for people just to be smarmy and get their smarminess in print.
But
But
sometimes you get endearing things like people like little kids cosplaying Miss Marvel or something like that. It's very
Right,
cute.
yeah.
Yeah.
but I think that was one of the barometers that they would use.
Yeah,
All
everybody keeps on talking about this Deadpool fella.
Yeah. or Wolverine.
Cool. All right. Let's move on to book report, everybody. Let's start with you, Cole Hornaday.
Well, I wanted to share this book report because here's a book that we all have been looking forward to for a while.
Especially this girl.
Ta-Nehisi Coates and Brian Stelfreeze's a new version, or at least the latest attempt at Black Panther. I've never been a big Black Panther fan, but if you've listened to the subtext of a lot of my criticisms of the big two comics, it's that I feel that characters of color need to be produced by people of color. I think it's I think it's kind of crucial to give us new insights into storytelling. And to give us a more not substantial but legitimate cultural standpoint when it comes to some of these characters. That said, this is it was an interesting book, but
It's an
I
interesting
had trouble
first
with
issue.
it because so much of it was exposition and carryover from previous stories, which I didn't anticipate. I guess
You got to read the first page. It gives you the context.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't enough.
Oh.
Because as I'm reading this, I'm like, there are just a boatload of references to previous stories. I don't know how far back that goes, and that was a little bit frustrating to me because I wanted to. I was hoping with all the fanfare around this book that it would be a more of a fresh start. That said, I did enjoy the book. The artwork is beautiful. The ensemble of characters that were assembled were terrific. The female dissident characters and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was interesting. You get LGBT right off the bat.
Right off the bat. I'll keep reading it because I have faith that it's going to be an innovative book.
And maybe they'll unfold a little bit more
Sure.
of that too, and give you maybe little flashbacks or something
So
like
I
that
guess
too.
if anything, they're doing a little bit of service to people who've been devoted readers of Black Panther, but also creating some new progressive perspectives on the character in the book. So
Well, I mean, he hasn't had his own series for 4 or 5 years or
it been
something
that
like
long?
that.
It's been a while.
So I feel like
wasn't he
if you're
incorporated into Daredevil?
well, he's
for a while?
incorporated. Yeah, that's
But
right.
that's still now 3-4
That's
years
four.
ago.
That's
Okay.
over 4 years ago. Like that was happening when I started working at Comic Extension.
Okay.
That was like 4.5 years ago. So, so I think referencing that stuff. I don't know what they're referencing actually because I still haven't even finished the Christopher Priest run. I don't know if it's referencing that or
I
not.
think they referenced the fact that Namor drowned half of Wakanda during A versus X.
Which and then that went into the Hickman stuff.
Into the Hickman
with
stuff
the
where
New
they are like
Avengers,
murder
and they're
buddies.
just like, I will kill you when this is over if we don't die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's, but they were alluded to the point where it's just sort of like, I guess I don't need to know that, but maybe I do, maybe yes, I don't know. Yeah. I liked it a lot too. For me though, it's like every time I read a Black Panther, it's just like Wakanda is falling apart,
I
and
know.
it's just like
I have
every
this-
time I read that, it's just like
yeah.
it always is. And Gotham's always about to blow
For
up.
being
So
a utopia, they're always in trouble.
right.
Well, see, that was
Hard to maintain
that was
utopia.
the one disappointment to me. Is like I did actually want to see a moment, even if it's just a flash of Wakanda being like, "Look, we're doing great. Everyone loves each other," and then
Right.
being like, "Oh, it's Tuesday. Something bad happened." But Monday was great. Remember Monday, guys?
Yes.
We
That one
loved Monday.
Somebody was not trying to steal all our vibranium. That was a good day.
Yeah, it was like they were off doing something with Hydra. I don't know, So that was the one thing. Is just like I kind of didn't want to always see it in peril. Like right off the bat, everything is awful and people are dying and we have to make tough choices and god.
right.
But look, these ladies love each other. That's cool.
All right.
Also,
Black
they're up to no good.
Black Panther #1 by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and forgive me, who's the artist?
Brian Selfreeze.
All right,
recommend.
You're gonna keep reading it, Cole?
I will keep reading it. You bet.
Cool. All right, let's move on to Chris. Chris, what do you want to talk about this week?
I read the first issue of House of Penance by Peter Tomasi and Ian Bertram. Tomasi does a lot of superhero work. He's also done a mixture of horror and a few other things. It's been a while since I've read him doing something without a cape, and I really did like it. It's oddly paced. It's basically about this woman who's gone insane because her child and husband have died, and she's actually like building a mansion that's a city-sized mansion, and anybody that comes to build for her, like, they get shelter, they can live there, but they have to give her their guns, and she's going to destroy all guns because that's what's caused her all this pain. So she's entering madness and trying to build this weird utopia. And then there's a stranger on his way who's also kind of got his own subplot. And there might be things in the place we don't know. There could be a haunting happening. It's basically just setting this intriguing mystery tone. And Ian Bertram's art is very unique. It's very intricate. It's a little cartoony in a very disturbing way.
You can probably show it to the camera too.
And like the cover kind of gives you a pretty good idea right there. And it's a fascinating collaboration, and it kind of made me think of old EC horror stuff and also old like Warren magazine horror material. So I would recommend checking it out if you just want a different kind of suspense mystery. And Scott Snyder liked it, and so yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
House of Penance.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris. And Nicole, what about you?
So I read the new Goldie Vance that is by Brittany Williams. She does the art, and Hope Larson is writing it. And there's another name on here. Sarah Stern is the colorist. You know how we've talked about the distinction between like writer, artist, and colorist?
Yeah.
They actually put the colorist on the cover, which usually it's writer and like inker.
So that's
pencilist.
unusual?
It's not unusual. I feel like it's happening more and more often, especially probably out of the Jordi Belair's Doing Everything Ever campaign that's happening.
Cool. Shout out to all the colorists in the world.
Yeah. So Goldie Vance is an all-age comic published by Boombox, which is the kid imprint, the all-age imprint. And it's a very Nancy Drew detective agency. She's a young girl who lives in this hotel that her father runs. And she loves solving mysteries. She's very precocious and scrappy, and it's very, very cute. It reminds me actually a lot of the book by Jonathan Case that now I'm blanking on, that I reviewed a while ago. Dang it, I should have written it down. Unprepared. Anyway, that was a certain time period too, and this is in like maybe 50 style because there's drag racing involved and things like that. So Jules got stolen, and she's like, well, I'm going to solve the case, and the guy who actually has a bit of a detective agency in the hotel for some reason is just like, no, please don't do that, and she's just like, so I'm going to go do it, so it's just, yeah, it's silly, but it's very fun, very lighthearted. And I think if you're looking for a Nancy Drew of the modern age, that's also a throwback that's not really modern, but cute. Because I'm realizing it's kind of a timepiece, like 50s style. Very cute. Definitely recommend it. And the Lumberjanes Gotham Academy crossover that's going to be happening has an exclusive in there. I still have no idea really what it's about, but from reading the preview, but it's interesting because it's a different art style from normal Lumberjanes. And it's definitely from Gotham Academy because the style is very weird, cartoony. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Goldie Vance. Check it out. And that's Book Report. And coming up is quiz time. But before we go, I want to tell you that the Perfect Bound podcast is brought to you by the Panel Jumper. You can see issue 004, An Odd Duck. the latest Panel Jumper episode at thepaneljumper.com. Also, check out the Panel Jumper Live coming May 27th at West of Lenin. Go to westoflenin.com to find details on that. Or the Panel Jumper
like this on
Facebook.
You will see all of us there.
You will see
be there.
All of us.
All of us will be there, and we will be talking with cartoonist David Lasky. You can also subscribe to the Perfect Bound Podcast at perfectboundpodcast.com. Send us an email, perfectboundpodcast@gmail.com. Or come to the Comics Dungeon here at 319 Northeast 45th Street in beautiful downtown Wallingford, or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at comicsdungeon.com. All right, now it's time for quiz time, and this week the quiz questions are coming to us from Chris. Lay it on us, Chris.
Every last episode, him and I get a little punchier. It's happening.
I don't know what your problem is.
This one is called Just Toss It Into the Phantom Zone. For those who don't know, the Phantom Zone is the prison that Superman's dad made, and you just throw things you don't like in there. Yeah. So, question number 1. Name at least 3 famous Kryptonian villains trapped in the Phantom Zone.
General Zod. Lara. I remember the gal's name.
Ursa.
And I can't, because I remember them from either the movie or...
He's like a delicious Indian bread.
Non?
I would have also accepted Jaxer or Cruel.
Okay, but because
Kryptonians.
Kryptonians.
They love apostrophes.
It's always been Zod, but the other two have had different names throughout the eras. Correct?
Usually they're Ursa and Non.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shame on me.
Number 2. What hero was placed in the Phantom Zone to save his life instead of a punishment because he was poisoned?
Anyone at all.
Mon-El from the Legion of Superheroes. Number 3. Batman developed a plan after the death of Superman where if a big enough threat appeared, then a group of heroes, authority, or military forces would contain it within a certain proximity after clearing those civilians and then send it through the Phantom Zone, like a little Phantom Zone bomb.
It's like Ghostbusters or something. Yeah.
What was the name of the protocol?
It's looking at you,
Phantom
Cole.
Zone Initiative.
Order 62.
It's after the death of Superman. It happened in the B versus J Justice Dot whatever.
The Doomsday Initiative.
The Doomsday Protocol.
Doomsday Particle, you said?
Protocol.
I was like, now it's like Ant-Man.
Yeah. I see. All right, got it.
This is too weedy, but Orion of the New Gods had a dog that was the pack commander of New Genesis Dog Cavalry, which is the greatest thing ever, by the way.
Yes.
Sturmer sacrificed himself by attacking a villain and plummeting into the Phantom Zone with the villain. Who was the villain? It's pretty weedy. Sorry.
But it's a great question because there's a dog.
Because it has a dog.
Yeah.
General Wade Eiling, who became the Shaggy Man. This is a suicide.
This is great. It's
Sorry.
Shaggy Man?
Yeah, the Shaggy Man. Yeah. Okay, last
It's a bombastic.
It's really deep in the weeds.
It is, sorry.
You admitted it.
Well, here's another one. This is like kind of Grant Morrison time right now.
Okay.
The Phantom Zone has many names. I'm trying to be educational.
You are.
As it's been discovered by different races and people, it has been called the Stasis Zone, the Buffer Zone, the Still Zone by the White Martians, and the Ghost Zone by the villain Prometheus, who built a crooked house there as his headquarters. What did the angel, Zariel, call it when he was teleported to the house that the villain Prometheus has?
Purgatory?
Limbo.
there
So
you
actually,
go.
the
Yeah.
Phantom Zone might actually be Limbo.
Wow, look at that. You learn something new every day here at the
Gosh
Perfect
darn
Bound
it.
Podcast.
Just
Yeah.
toss it into the Phantom Zone.
right,
Just
so-
toss it in the.
That's our episode. Thank you for listening. Be sure to check out Puny Humans at Annex Theater. It closes May 14th, which, if I scheduled things right, is going to be this Saturday. So check it out. Thank you for listening and tune in next week.